Glacier National Park in Montana. This is Jim from RV4x40.com. Welcome to the channel this week. We're going to take you on a trip to Glacier National Park in Montana, as we visited there recently. It's a wonderful park. It's a great place to visit. There are things to see, there are things to photograph, there are hikes to take, and it's an all-around great place to go for some recreation and relaxation as far as all that is concerned. One of the surprising things to me was I found out on this trip that the park is not named for the glaciers that are there. There are several glaciers there on various mountains, and these glaciers will wax and wane based on the weather conditions. Up until recently they had been receding somewhat, and now in the last year or two they have started to come back and are actually increasing in size again. But the park gets its name from the fact that it was formed by glacier action. Over the last 2 to 2.5 million years, there have been multiple periods when we've had glacial periods. That's what they're called. Glacial periods when the ice has been up to 10,000 feet thick over these mountains. In between these periods of glaciation, which last about 125,000 years or so, there are periods of 10 to 15,000 years when they're called the interglacial periods, when the glaciers recede far back up into the north and the land is exposed again. But during the times when these glaciers were high on these mountains, they carved them, they have caused peaks, they've created valleys. Most of the lakes you'll see in this region are glacial lakes, where the glaciers carved out these huge valleys as they receded, left behind water, and these lakes are still formed today. And Lake McDonald and Lake St. Mary and the other lakes in the park are all glacial lakes as far as that is concerned. We were only able to scratch the surface of what we might do in the park. We invite you to come along now as we show you some of the things we were able to see and do in the park. We are approaching West Glacier in Montana, which is the entrance point and actually the park headquarters for Glacier National Park. So I have a whole list of places that other photographers have recommended for places to go see and take pretty pictures. Today is not a pretty picture day, probably. It's got a lot of overcast and potential for rain, but we're going to go scout the park out and see if we can get a map bigger than the 8.5 by 11 I can print from my computer, and worry about seeing if we can find some of these things and probably drive is it going to the Gods Highway, whatever the road is that goes over the top of the park?
Don't remember.
She'll remember it once she's on it, because we'll drive it west to east, which puts her on the outside edge for most of it.
I'm sure it'll be a vivid memory by then.
Yeah, it'll pop back in, except she may have done it with her eyes closed the last time. Actually, we did not go over that highway the last time. I should correct myself on that. We went part way up it. It was closed still by the time we got here in June. And it was closed, and technically the rig we were in was too big to go anyway, but the ranger at the desk there let us go up, stop. We could park the RV looking out at a glacier and had lunch inside the RV with the kids that were all with us at that time. So whether I can still find that spot, whether that glacier is still there, I don't know, but it will be an interesting visit. We'll be here a week to get some pictures and hopefully get some wildlife to photograph and have a good time. What are you looking forward to, Miss Chris?
Oh, just seeing the park and bringing back some memories, and it'll be fun.
I got to refresh the memories from when we were here. We're not sure when, sometime around 1985, 86, 87, somewhere in that time frame was when we took our first trip up through this part of the world, and we're in Yellowstone and Glacier both. So we're going to repeat some of that this time around and maybe make some new memories with just ourselves without the kids, which will be fun. Not that we're without the kids is fun. We'd rather have them with us.
Them anytime.
The highway goes across the center of the park and provides the only east-west road through the park. We'll show you some snippets of various portions of the road going just over the summit. The trip takes about 45 minutes to get that far, depending on traffic. Large vehicles are not allowed on the highway, and there will always be people on bicycles and some other people who are very nervous about being on this particular road. But it's safe as long as you take your time and watch the people around you who may do some crazy things.
What you're putting in, all your hopes and efforts are all in vain. Who will pick you up when you've lost everything? Does it all become for granted with a wedding ring? Has
Today's adventure, it's been kind of a lazy day, but today's adventure in the evening is to go out and see if we can find a sunset spot. The skies aren't particularly conducive to a spectacular sunset, but we're out seeing if we can get some pictures at sunset and then maybe find a spot for a better day while we're doing it. We're going up by Lake McDonald. To the north end of it there is a unpaved road that goes around the end of the lake according to the map, so that's our target spot at this point. My navigator is sitting there not saying anything.
Well, we're looking at the next 3 days being real sunny, so we're looking for some good pictures.
We sure are. At least the sky should cooperate and the light will cooperate. I just need to get up early in the morning and go to bed late at night.
I'll do the late at night one.
Yeah, she's not much for up early in the morning. Well, as you can see from the background behind me, I'm down here at the lakeside, but the clouds have closed in and it does not look like it's going to be a good night to do any kind of sunset photography. So I'll wait a little bit more just in case something develops at the sun at the low horizon, but looks like this was not a good night for doing photography. So we'll do it again another night. These falls are easily accessible from a stop on the main park road. As you can see, they attracted other photographers as well as myself. McDonald Lake Lodge was built in 1914 in a pseudo-Swiss chalet style, and it has quite a bit of rustic charm still. Originally, visitors had to come by train, then cover the last distance by boat up Lake McDonald, about 7 miles. The front is now the main entrance to the lodge, however, and you'll see these refurbished 1936, 1937 white buses that leave from here. This river runs right beside the main highway and is a peaceful stream in the summer and the fall, but is much larger when the snow melt is in full swing in late spring. The water is very clear and very cold. I made it to Sundrift Gorge parking area. Went by the St. Mary's Falls parking lot to get here coming from the west side. This turned out to be a really beautiful morning with no clouds to speak of in the sky and some great sunlight. I stopped a lot of places on going to the Sun Highway to get here. Stopped and took some scenic pictures of what I think should be some pretty interesting shots. Now we're getting ready to take a hike. We'll go to Bering Falls first and St. Mary's Falls, and Beringer Falls in the bag, or in the camera as the case may be. So I moved up to the St. Mary's parking lot, got the last spot here. I think a lot of bicyclists were launching out of this place this morning, other people probably walking down to the falls. So I was up early this morning to try and get some sunrise shots, but like last night with the sunset, the clouds were still around, so the sunrises were not all that spectacular where I was at the time anyway. I decided to head on up to Logan Pass, and we're going to take the hike up to Hidden Lake Overlook, which goes from like 6,600 feet above sea level to about 7,900. So a bit of an uphill climb, but it's a pretty easy walk from what they tell me. made it up the hill and down the other side to the overlook for Hidden Lake, and then back down without too much difficulty. My knees are really feeling the steps. A lot of it is a wooden boardwalk, and they have steps on it as opposed to just an incline. So I don't know that I like the steps as well as I like just walking on an incline, but that's okay. It's an interesting hike, not particularly difficult, but there is a lot of elevation change, so I took my time and got up there okay, and then got some pictures from the lake in that area. You'll see those in the video. And then we came back down, so now we're heading back down. It took me about from 7:30 to 11, so what's that, 3.5 hours, probably 2 hours up and an hour and a half back. I did stop quite a bit, going both ways to take pictures and to rest, so give you a feel for what it is. If you're in not terribly great shape, if you're in better shape, you can do it faster than that. And there were a lot of families on the hike, a lot of people, all ages, up and down that hill. So it was an interesting time. And now I'm heading back to the RV for some lunch and see what Chris is doing. We found the Pole Bridge Mercantile. You can see the building there in Pole Bridge, Montana. The Mercantile came highly recommended for its huckleberry bear claws. Huckleberries being apparently native to the area and a local delight, which people take great pleasure in selling and serving and all that stuff. They were good. It was excellent. They have a bunch of other baked goods that they do, and some cabins, and I think the neighborhood gathering place is the saloon next door. It's over there. You can see it behind the cars. So I think they serve meals as well. I'm not sure about that. We are ending up our visit in Glacier National Park in Montana and getting ready to head out tomorrow to take a couple of days to get down to Yellowstone. So just wanted to wrap things up with a view of someplace which is out of the way, but it's well worth the drive to get up here. We're wrapping up, heading back from Pole Bridge. I can't think of the name of the town. Heading down the road from Pole Bridge. There's a squirrel breaking for there. You come out of the park the way we came on a park road, and you end up on a dirt Forest Service road, which goes for a ways, 10 miles or something. And then all at once there's a stretch of paved road which goes another 10 miles or whatever. And it's marked this as private property, not part of the National Forest or the park, either one. You're out of the park by now. And that road then ends and you hit another dirt road, and right there is where Pole Bridge is, off to the right just a bit. So it was an interesting visit. What was your favorite thing about the park, Chris?
Well, I like all the water, the lakes, the waterfalls, the creeks, but also the majestic mountains, because we're getting a good view of them right here from a distance.
Yeah, we're on the western edge of the park, where the park stops and the Forest Service National Forest starts, and then there's a bunch of private land in here as well. So it's a mix, but it's certainly a beautiful country, and someplace that I'm glad we came back to it. I'm glad we spent more time this time than we did the first time through here, and still didn't get everything done we could have done. There are places we didn't get to and things we didn't get to go see, and now we're going to have dust from the truck that just passed us. So dirt roads, but that's the way it goes when you're out in the country, and we love it.
Well, it's been a great week, and we're looking forward to moving on to Yellowstone and seeing what we see there.
Yeah, that'll be another return visit. We were in this area in '91, as near as we can figure out, the last time. So a lot's changed, and of course the mountains and the scenery and some things are still the same. So it's still a wonderful, magnificent part of the good old US of A here in Montana. Thank you for spending a few minutes of your day with us watching this video. If you're new to the channel and you'd like to, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe to it. You can do that by simply clicking on the subscribe button down below. And if you'd like to be notified when we post a new video, click on that little bell icon and you'll get an email notifying you when we post something new. In the meantime, we hope you're enjoying this great country of ours with its opportunities for rest, relaxation, and other things, and that we will perhaps run into you somewhere as we travel on the highways and byways of America. Remember, as I always tell you, keep her between the ditches as you drive, and have a great day.